On November 13, 1974, a quiet suburban home in Amityville, New York became the scene of a horrific crime. 6 members of the DeFeo family were brutally shot and killed in their beds by their eldest son, Ronald DeFeo Jr., who claimed that he was possessed by demonic voices. A year later, a new family, the Lutzes, moved into the house hoping to start a fresh life. But they soon discovered that the house was haunted by a dark and evil force that drove them to flee after just 28 days. This is the true story behind the Amityville Horror, one of the most notorious and controversial cases of alleged paranormal activity in history. The DeFeo family consisted of Ronald DeFeo Sr., a successful car salesman, his wife Louise, and their 5 children, Ronald Jr., also known as Butch, Dawn, Allison, Mark, and John Matthew. They lived in a spacious Dutch colonial house with a swimming pool and a boat dock in a wealthy neighborhood of Amityville, Long Island. To the outside world, they seemed like a happy and normal family, but behind closed doors, there was trouble and tension. Ronald Sr. was very strict and domineering. He had a temper and he would yell at his kids and his wife. He was abusive physically and mentally. Butch was the oldest. He was 23. He was a troubled kid. He had a drug problem and he was into the occult. He hated his father and they would often fight. Dawn was the second oldest. She was 18. She was rebellious and defiant. She wanted to get away from her family and live her own life. She had a boyfriend who was older than her, and her parents didn't approve. Allison was 13, Mark was 12, and John Matthew was 9. They were the younger ones. They were sweet and innocent. They didn't deserve what happened to them. On the night of November 13, 1974, around 3 a.m., Butch took a .35 caliber rifle and went from room to room, shooting his parents and his siblings in their sleep. He then showered, dressed, and left the house. He went to a nearby bar crying for help. He told the patrons that his family had been murdered, and they followed him back to the house. The police arrived shortly after and found the 6 bodies lying face down on their beds with no signs of struggle or resistance. Butch initially claimed that the murders had been a mob hit and that he had escaped because he was not home at the time. But his story soon fell apart as the police found evidence that he had been the killer. He had the murder weapon, the spent cartridges, and his bloody clothes. He also had no alibi and his timeline did not match the facts. He eventually confessed to the killings, but said that he had heard voices in his head telling him to do it. He said that he was possessed by a demonic force that had taken over the house. Butch went on trial in October 1975 and pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. His lawyer, William Weber, argued that Butch was a victim of a haunted house and that he had been driven to madness by the evil spirits that lurked there. He claimed that the house had a history of violence and death and that it was built on an ancient Indian burial ground. He also presented witnesses who testified that they had experienced strange and frightening phenomena in the house, such as cold spots, foul smells, moving objects, and apparitions. He said that Butch was not responsible for his actions and that he needed psychiatric help, not prison. The prosecution, however, dismissed the supernatural claims as a hoax and presented a different picture of Butch. They said that he was a cold-blooded killer who had planned and executed the murders for his own selfish reasons. They said that he had a motive. He wanted to inherit his father's fortune, and he was tired of his abusive and controlling family. They said that he had premeditated the crime. He had waited until his family was asleep, and he had used a silencer on his rifle to avoid detection. They said that he was sane. He had shown no signs of mental illness before or after the murders, and he had tried to cover up his tracks and create a false alibi. They said that he deserved the death penalty, or at least life imprisonment. The jury deliberated for 8 hours and found Butch guilty of 6 counts of second-degree murder. The judge sentenced him to 6 consecutive terms of 25 years to life, meaning that he would never be eligible for parole. Butch was sent to prison, where he remains to this day. He has since changed his story several times, implicating his sister Dawn, his father, and even a hitman in the murders. He has also claimed that he was influenced by Satan, by drugs, by his abusive childhood, and by a mysterious black-hooded figure. But none of his appeals have been successful, and he has never expressed any remorse or regret for his actions. A year after the murders, in December 1975, a new family moved into the house at 112 Ocean Avenue. They were the Lutzes, George and Kathy, and their 3 children, Daniel, Christopher, and Missy. They bought the house for a bargain price of $80,000, knowing its bloody history, but hoping to start a fresh life. They also hired a priest to bless the house, to cleanse it of any negative energy, but they soon realized that the house was not a dream home, but a nightmare. The Lutzes claimed that they were terrorized by a dark and evil force that haunted the house. They said that they experienced a series of bizarre and frightening phenomena, such as swarms of flies, green slime oozing from the walls, foul odors, cold spots, moving objects, and demonic voices. They said that they saw apparitions of the DeFeos and of a pig-like creature with glowing red eyes. They said that they felt oppressed, depressed, and angry, and that they had nightmares and visions of the murders. They said that they were physically attacked, and that their daughter Missy befriended an imaginary friend named Jody, who was actually the spirit of the pig. They said that they feared for their lives, and that they had to escape from the house. The Lutzes said that they endured 28 days of horror before they decided to flee from the house on January 14, 1976. They left behind most of their possessions and never returned. They later contacted William Weber, Butch's lawyer, and told him their story. Weber saw an opportunity to use their testimony to support Butch's insanity defense and to make money from a book deal. He arranged a meeting with the Lutzes and a writer named Jay Anson, who agreed to write a book based on their account. The book, titled The Amityville Horror, was published in 1977 and became a bestseller. It was followed by a movie adaptation in 1979 and several sequels and remakes. The book and the movie sparked a worldwide interest in the Amityville case and made the house a famous and controversial landmark. The house at 112 Ocean Avenue still stands today, but it has been altered and renovated over the years. It has a different address, 108 Ocean Avenue, and a different appearance, with the distinctive quarter-moon windows replaced by rectangular ones. It has also been occupied by several different owners who have reported no paranormal activity and have dismissed the Lutz's claims as a hoax. The Lutzes, however, maintained that their story was true until their deaths in 2004 and 2006. The debate over the authenticity of the Amityville Horror continues to this day, with some people believing that the house is indeed haunted and others believing that it is a fraud. The truth may never be known, but one thing is certain. The house at 112 Ocean Avenue will always be remembered as the site of a terrible tragedy and a terrifying mystery.